Alright, we're gonna hop right into it. This is the first part of a tutorial on making indicators in S1 Trader. The indicator we're going to start off with is an SMA. So we just want to head into our drive and load up a space. So heading into tutorial space, we're going to make an indicator called SMA. And we're going to select it as type indicator. Now, before we get started with programming, we want to discuss best practices. In S1, we want to separate the indicator from the part that does the actual calculation. And we would normally do this by simply making another file and then importing the part that does the calculation and using it in our indicator. But for demonstration purposes, tutorial purposes, I will not be doing that this time. So we need to first make our calculator, and it's just going to be a simple class called SMA. And it's going to have one function and its constructor. This constructor is going to take one variable, a period, and it's going to have a function push. Now, the period for the SMA comes from the user, so that takes us down to our params down here, and we're trying to specify our param period. Now, params, the name is the key of the dictionary, and we can specify how it should operate, how the user should interact with the param in the indicator menu. So we're going to specify its type as a number, and we're going to give it a default value of 10. We're also going to give it a minimum value of 1. There's also a maximum value we can apply, but that doesn't really make sense here. And we need a minimum value of 1 because a minimum value of 0 doesn't actually, or a negative number doesn't have any real significant value. So if we go up into our constructor, we need to first do a few things for our SMA to be able to use it inside our indicator. We can specify that our period is equal to the period. We need to keep track of how many objects are inside of this SMA calculation. So we're going to do this dot array is equal to an empty array, and then we need a total. We're going to set that equal to 0. So for a push function, we also need to bind it to, we should probably bind it to our class. So this dot push is equal to this dot push dot bind this. And our push function just takes in a value. And this value we're going to use to first add it into an array. We're going to increment our total. And if our total exceeds the period, when our array length exceeds the period, then we need to take the first value and subtract that from our total, and we can just return the array total divided by the array length. So the first thing we do is this dot array dot push value. If this dot array dot length is greater than this dot period, we need to first unshift the array. And then we need to do this dot total minus equal unshifted. Now that we've done that, we could just simply return this dot total. We forgot one more thing up here, is that we need to specify that this dot total is plus equal to value. And then we can return this dot total divided by this dot array dot length. So that should be all we need for our SMA. Now in our indicator, we need to do initialize our SMA, then we can push values into it. So this dot SMA equals a new SMA at this dot period. Our params here are located at this dot props, so we need to make sure we have that there. Now we go into our map function here. We see that we can return stuff. So we can return either an array, a dictionary, or nothing at all. If we return an array, we can have multiple dictionaries of multiple items we want to draw at a single point. So, but we're not going to do that for now. All we want to do here is build our SMA calculation. So how do we do that? So there's two parts to this. There's pushing the value into the SMA. There is initializing our points. There is saving the previous point, and then updating the points. And the last thing we want to do is just return our drawing item, which is going to be a type of line segment, and it's going to have point array. So this part is easy enough. Const value. Let's say price first. Price equals d.close. And we're going to push this close into our SMA. Now we want to initialize our points. So this dot last value is equal to this dot last value if it's not null, not undefined. Otherwise, we're going to set a default value to be our variable value. And then we'll do the same thing to our index. And this will be our point 1. And we're going to make a line segment from point 1 to point 2. We're actually going to do that here. So now we have the index of our y and the index of our point 1 and value of our point 1. Now we need to save the previous point. So we need to do const last value is equal to this dot last value, then const last index is equal to this dot last index. And then we need to just update the position of that point. So now this dot last value is equal to value, and this dot last index is equal to index. In our line segment, point 1, point 2 will be last index, last value, and the current points where we want to draw at right now is at index, comma value. Now I can check the terminal if we have any errors once I add this indicator to the chart. And there we go. That is our SMA.